Have condo prices in Broward finally flatlined? Sales are down, inventory is piling up, and sellers, well, they're struggling more than ever to get to the closing table. But here is the kicker. Condo prices haven't really moved in over a year, and that might be your window of opportunity. Jake Fletcher here with the Fletcher Group at eXp Realty, your Broward and Miami-Dade real estate agent, and in this update, we are breaking down exactly what is happening in the Broward condo market as of June 2025. So whether you're thinking about making a move or waiting for the right time to buy, or if you're just trying to understand what all of these headlines really mean, this is the video for you. Stick around to the end for all the numbers that matter most right now. And if you want to talk through your strategy, your individual situation, one-on-one, all my contact info is in the description down below. You can even grab a time with me directly through my Calendly link, and I'd love to hear from you, okay? So let's go ahead and dive on in. We're gonna start with sales and days on market, okay? So sales, that's our green line there, blue line's days on market, okay? So in June, we had 919 condo sales in Broward. That's down 11.7% from May's 1,041 and nearly 19% lower than June of last year, okay? So looking at that sales line here, we see it went down month over month, and then we can see versus June of last year, we're also down, from that. So 19% from last year, 11.7% in just 1 month, okay? And this has been replicated across, the whole market. Single-family homes in Broward slowed down last month. Condos and single-family homes in Miami-Dade slowed down last month. So it's just everything's getting slower. It's a slow summer, which is interesting because normally summer is a time when more people are moving because, the kids are out of school and so on and so forth. This slowdown in buyer activity shows up as well in our days on market. So looking at the blue line there, we see days on market or average days on market came in at 118, which is slightly faster than May. It's only down by 4 days, but compared to 84 days on market last June, that's a 40.5% increase, 40.5% increase in market time, okay? So things are definitely moving slower year over year. Inventory-wise, let's go ahead and take a look at this next graph here. Active number of listings versus months of inventory. Months of inventory is just if no new markets came on the listing, how long would it take to sell the existing supply at the current rate of sales, okay? So inventory-wise, we're still high. Looking at that green line there, came down a little bit. There was 12,771 active listings in June. That's down 367 from May, a 2.8% reduction month over month. But year over year, we are up 24.6% with over 2,500 more condos on the market than this time last year. So that brings us to months of inventory, which came in at 14 months, okay? That's deep, abysmal, what's that thing? Mariana Trench deep market, buyer's market territory. We were at 13 last month in May, and then only 9 months of inventory in June of last year, which was over here. So we've added 5 months of inventory in just 1 year, okay? Going from 9 to 14. That's a 55.6% increase. And, this kind of market usually means serious leverage for buyers. And that's exactly what I'm seeing out there on the ground in the trenches day in and day out, okay? So if you're thinking about buying right now, keep that in mind, all right? Now, here's the really wild part, okay? We'll look at this next one, close price to original price ratio. Close price to original price ratio hit 91.4%, which is super low, okay? Now, think of close price to original price ratio is basically just a ratio expressed as a percentage where you're averaging across the whole market the difference between what a seller originally listed for versus what they actually ended up selling for. So if it was listed for 100 grand and it sold for 100 grand, that's 100% close price to original price ratio. If it sold for only 90 grand, that's a 90% close price to original price ratio, okay? So hitting 91.4% is down 0.4% from May and 3.1% lower than last June when it was 94.5% over right over here, okay? Somewhere around there. Now, based on the 10-year graph, which I'm going to show you right here, you can actually see, I mean, first of all, on the 5-year graph, you're like, dang, this is by far the lowest that we've been in 5 years. Well, how about the 10-year graph? Well, we take a look at that too, and we're lower than we've ever even been on the 10-year graph. In fact, this was the furthest back that the MLS stats allowed me to go. Was 10 years back, and there's never been a lower closed price to original price ratio in Broward County for condos. So that means sellers are negotiating harder than they've ever negotiated before just to get the deal done, okay? So combine that with 2,442 expired listings, in our blue line there, you can see the story gets even clearer, okay? So we'll go back to the 5 years so you can see it a little bit better. So 2,442 expired listings in June. That's up 217 from May, and that's an increase of 9.8% in the expired listings, and it's 9.1% higher than we were last June when we had 2,239 expireds. So translation, if you're shopping for condos, you got a ton of leverage, so keep that in mind. Make sure you're working with an agent like myself who can use that to your advantage, okay? So now let's look at the supply, number of new listings versus the median sale price, okay? So supply and pricing is very closely related because generally, I mean, it's supply and demand 101. Generally when there's less supply, you see prices go up and vice versa, okay? So what did we see here? New listings came in at 2,123 or 2,133 rather. That's down 205 units from May for an 8.8% drop month over month that you can see in that green line. Pretty decent little drop there. But compared to last year, we're seeing a 4.5% decrease year over year. So we had a bigger month over month drop in number of new listings than we had year over year. Would have been like back here, closer to here, right? That was June of 2024 right there. So closer year over year than we were month over month. Which actually last June was 2,233. This month was 2,133, so it was only 100 off. But yet, median sale prices held flat at $275,000. You can see the blue line there, the flat line. That's stayed the same from May to June, which is very interesting, and that's really like wild how stable prices have been. If you look at this graph, we've basically been hovering in that 270 to 290 range for a long time, since January of 2023. So we have to go all the way back here to see January 2023, which would have been right about there, to see prices go below that 270 to 290 range, okay? That's 30 months, guys. 30. That's 30 months of prices just going nowhere in Broward condo market. So while prices haven't dropped, they haven't grown either. So, they've really been stable. So you could make a story that that's a bad thing. You could paint a picture that it's a good thing, considering that rates have skyrocketed during that same time. They've been super high. So, while rates have been really high and affordability has been a problem, prices have remained stable. So there must be good demand for this product, right? Or you could paint the picture of, hey, 30 months without appreciation, sounds like not the greatest investment, right? But homes are not always an investment, right? Or, I say homes meaning, a condo, place where you live, right? Could be a condo, could be a house. But a home isn't necessarily always an investment because you need a roof over your head, right? So it is, there are other benefits to buying real estate. There's tax benefits. There's the fact that you don't have a landlord. You have a fixed mortgage where your price is always the same year after year. So, while prices haven't dropped, they haven't really been skyrocketing through the moon either, right? And when you combine that with the negotiation that buyers have right now, it's a pretty compelling setup to me, right? Because if I'm thinking, hey, I need a roof over my head anyways, and I've had 30 months of prices not dropping despite high interest rates, and I see from that close price to original price ratio, literally in modern times, it's never been a better time to negotiate in terms of, knocking sellers down from their original list price. that's a good time to get out there and negotiate like a boss. Especially if you have a very competent agent on your side, like myself. Contact info in the description down below. So to sum it up, what's going on, okay? Buyer demand is down, listings are up, prices are stuck, and sellers are just, budging harder than they've ever had to budge in 10 plus years. And if you've been on the fence about buying a condo in Broward, this could be your moment. If you want to run numbers, explore neighborhoods, or just talk strategy, I would love to help. It's never too early to start planning. I always tell people the best time to buy is when you find the right property for the right price. Okay. So, that's my truly heartfelt sentiment. I bought a condo for myself earlier in this year in February. And, the reason I bought is because I got it for 88% of the original list price. So I got, 12% off of what they wanted for it originally. And it's a waterfront condo. I got great views. It came with the furniture too. So, you factor that into the value. And it was the right place and it fit my budget. And I needed a roof over my head. So, if that's you, you can find all of my contact info in the description down below. You can even book a free consultation with me down there using my Calendly link. And like I said, I'd love to help you guys out. Jake Fletcher here with the Fletcher Group at eXp Realty, your Broward and Miami-Dade real estate agent. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.